All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be watching from. Obviously, we're just getting rolling here. I see a few people popping into the room already. Andre, good to see you again as well. Excited to do this
Good to
webinar.
see you, Trevor, as well. You're very nice. So we're not doing it the first time. So not often that I get a chance to see you, at least on the webinars.
Exactly. Well, and of course, as always, though, you just never know what's going to happen with the tech and stuff. So we started about a minute late here, but I'm glad everybody was patient and waiting with us there. And on that note, actually, why don't we just start with that because it's good to just get all the technical stuff out of the way. Can you just type, everybody that's watching, can you just type into the chat? You should see it on the Zoom window there. Just let us know you can see us, you can hear us. We're going to share our screen here in a second as well. So let us know that you can see those slides also. And I see some feedback coming in here now. I think we're good to go. All right. Excellent. Okay.
I just shared the screen, so.
Perfect. All right. Well, let's just roll straight into things here because we want to, be as concise as possible with these webinars while delivering as much value as possible. So we're gonna just get going here. So if you're joining us, obviously you're here because you're interested in learning about these 5 ways to improve your digital healthcare product to attract more users and increase market share. And as you already heard me talking, I've got Andre, the CEO of Glorium Technologies, with me here. I'm going to be hosting. I'll jump in from time to time. I'm going to be behind the scenes mostly monitoring any kind of questions and chat that are coming in. And we'll let Andre present to you. But if you want to click to the next slide there, Andre, I'll just give everybody a quick overview. If you're not familiar with Glorium, this is who they are. So they provide health tech startups with strategic and technical expertise that they need to build their vision for less. And they've got over 11 years of growth experience, 150 plus developers, UX, UI designers, business analysts, project managers. They work with over 70 different frameworks and technologies. They've done over 60 productions just in the last year. And they're ISO 9001 certified and ISO 13485 certified as well. And of course, they were on the Inc. 5000 list, as well as the Inc. Top 250 in New York Metro. And their goal is really to prevent their clients from wasting time and money on misaligned products that really just don't resonate with the market needs. And that's one of the purposes of this webinar, is to really educate, allow you to have more insight into what does all that mean? What does all this experience actually translate into you, the product owner, the business owner, the founder that's watching this webinar. So if you want to click to the next one, Andre, I'll just run through kind of what we're going to go.
Thanks for the great introduction.
Yeah. Well, hey, we've done it a few times now, right? I know it's in the back of my hand now. So here's what we're going to talk about, though, today. We're going to go through things to avoid when building your health tech product. We're going to talk about what components are vital for the product's success, one of the most overlooked aspects of health tech products, 5 ways you can make your product stand out from competitors, and then a bonus idea to consider when you're planning your market expansion. And then finally, of course, a recap and how Glorium can help you building your own healthcare platform. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to Andre to jump in on things. And like I say, I'm going to jump in from time to time, and I will be behind the scenes. So if anybody has any tech issues, you got questions along the way, you just want to chime in with a thought, please feel free to do it, and I'll keep an eye on it. And if it makes sense to stop Andre to ask a question, then we'll absolutely do that as well.
Yeah, by all means. Thanks, Trevor, for all this intro. And definitely interrupt me as we go if there is anything that you want to chime in with, or anyone has any questions as we go through the presentations. Just don't hesitate, pop in all your questions. We will answer either immediately or then closer to the end. We'll see. Okay, so let's go and see. What do we have here? So as my first slide suggests, if you want to succeed with your product, let's start with not making biggest mistakes. Okay, so that's I decided to put it, the first thing here, and that's definitely there is much bigger to it than that. And my last webinar actually was about the common mistakes when you're doing the software development, when you're outsourcing the software for the health tech products. And I'm just gonna very briefly mention them over here, is that people sometimes deprioritize the importance of the domain knowledge. And because of that, some of the products that they're building is gonna be really not up to the standards. And on the same note, always have a dedicated product owner, somebody who can pick up on all the knowledge and put it all together in a nice and very efficient way. Then the integrations, it's a big and huge beast. Everybody knows about it in healthcare. You need to approach it, properly. There are, one of the biggest mistakes that we saw is that it's fully given to the developers. And whereas in majority of the integrations, sometimes we see up to like 80% of the work that has to be done by business analysts or product owners. So be careful there as well. Then security, consider security from the very beginning. Don't wait until the end. At least some basic stuff has to be put from the beginning into the framework of your product. Bad UI UX, I'm going to unfold it a bit later today as well, but it's one of the biggest problems for all health tech digital products. And of course, absence of the risk management. It's not only related to health tech startups and products, but also to all the startups. But for health tech, it's much more essential than for everyone else because of the high responsibility and high risks and compliance and security and regulations, everything that is related to the healthcare. And so this is, just in a couple of minutes, I mentioned about the mistakes, but Trevor, thank you very much. I see you have dropped the link into the chat. So that's the recording of the entire previous webinar about the mistakes. Okay, so let's talk about then. So if we are beyond the mistakes, what drives actually the overall success of your product? And that's not only related to healthcare, but overall each and every product, basically back to the roots. Each startup or company, in the foundation, there is your team and the quality of your team, basically what those people are capable of, how they are capable to work together, how good they are. Then this team builds certain product, certain functionality. So how well, depending on how well the team is, of course, there's the product quality is going to be on a certain level. So product quality is basically, it's a second level, how good the features are there and how they satisfy the customer's needs. And then on very top of that, when you deliver this product and when you have a customer who is facing your company, who is interacting with your product, who is talking to your salespeople, who is visiting your website, reading your marketing materials, your knowledge base, interacting, putting the data into your product, going through the support, basically all of that is a user experience. And how good your team together with product can create this user experience, it very much depends on the success of your overall product and how you conquer the market and how far you go, basically. Okay, so remember about those are kind of layers on which your success is actually built. So so if we go next, so within this webinar, my assumption is, and I'm going to leave it out of the scope, my assumption is that you already have a great team. You have invested already into your team and it rocks. Okay, and I also would assume that you have a product that satisfies the needs of your clients or of your customers. And the product is also great. Okay, so I'll leave it out. You have all the necessary. You satisfy the goals of the customers. You have all the security built in, compliance, and all of that stuff. Okay, so now that you have those, and of course some of those features we may consider in other webinars, but as of right now, we'll just assume that everything is great there, and we will focus essentially on the UX, on the final component. So as we're talking on this on the features, don't expect me during this webinar to tell you exactly what kind of features and how you need to build for your health tech product to be a success. There are tons of them, and I cannot, basically this webinar is pretty general and generic for everyone. So there will be, we are focusing mostly on the experience. And here I have some of the stats that I was able to mine, and that actually show you. Those stats are not about the healthcare at all, but what they do show is how important the user experience is for the users, for the customers, and for the product. So I can briefly go and tell you. So 79% of the people, of the users, will leave and actually search again if your content is not optimized. ESPN.com website, actually, their revenues jumped 35% after they just did the redesign according to the feedback of their users. They didn't do anything much. They just redesigned the website according to the feedback. So mobile users are actually 5 times more likely to abandon the website or the application if it is not optimized for the mobile. And 88% of the users are less likely to return to your website after a bad experience. Just experience, so it's not about the interface, it's overall about the experience. Okay, so on 39% will stop engaging because of the speed, basically, if it just takes too much to load. And actually 51%, what's interesting here, in one of the survey, it showed that 51% of the users thinks that thorough contact information is the most critical element missing from the websites. Insane to me, but this is the data. And another study actually showed that user interface, just by building a better user interface, it can improve the conversions up to 200%. But if you focus on the overall user experience, not only the UI, how nicely it looks, then you are able to bump up the conversions with your product, with your website, by up to 400%. So there is a huge impact that can be made just by the user experience. And it's one of the most overlooked and impactful reserves in healthcare related applications. You can definitely see this. And so it's basically UX is very crucial for your product adoption and expansion. My goal here is to stress it. Yeah.
I was just kind of laughing to myself because I wasn't aware of that stat you just talked about with ESPN. And I thought to myself how impatient sports fans are. They want their scores and they want them now, right? It's common.
Yeah, probably. Well, this is the experience. This is what they're coming there for, right? So they just come to figure out. And this, I also read an article about the user experience. And it's basically, the whole idea is, I'm a user. I came here with very specific thing in mind. I want to achieve my goal. So please, please, please help me achieve my goal and don't pound me with anything else. I don't want to see anything else. Just give me the means to achieve my goal and I'm going to be done and I'm going to be happy with you. So if you can figure it out how to do this, you're going to definitely succeed.
Absolutely.
Okay. So now that we have established that, I will get to the guys, those of you who are impatient about the specifics about healthcare, bear with me for a second. I'm going to go through some of the information around the user experience, and then I will get to the specifics. Okay, so now that we have established that user experience can boost your success with your product, with your market. So now here are some of the general guidelines, what you need to do in order to improve your user experience. Number one, categorize your users. You are not building a generic application or a generic product that solves everything for anyone. There is always somebody, very specific players that are going to interact with your application, and they have very specific roles. So understand for whom you're building your product. Now, after that has been established, then categorize the processes that you're automating. So every tool helps you to, every tool anyone is building in health tech, so we're talking about health tech right now, whether it's an EHR or it's a billing application or it's practice management or it's doctor booking, anything. It is there to solve a specific problem, and it automates a certain process. It helps people to make this process more convenient, faster, better, cheaper. So think about what processes are there involved in your application. Then, once you understand those roles and those processes, then mostly focus on building the application for those roles and for those processes. A lot of people are building something generic. Oh, okay, so we are booking, we're an application for booking the appointments. So we have to, and then what goes after that? Then people start thinking about what features they need to build. All right, so we will build a calendar, okay? And the calendar has to have this, this, and that. Oh, then we have to build an appointment window. Okay, so then we need to build, the frame, the menus, something else. So the functionality. So don't think about those in the beginning. So don't build the features. Build something for your users and for the processes that you're solving. That's a little bit different approach. You will start immediately looking at all of your applications and at everything you're building at a slightly different angle. So maybe you will come up with similar things as you have already came up from the beginning, but they will be different and they will be optimized in view, in experience for those specific people, for those specific processes. Now, when you do this, very important here not to get swamped by something, by those 20% that are not really important. So I see a lot of time, I see people building those features, and then when they start thinking about the processes, about the roles, one thing just doesn't get into the entire picture. And those small exceptions start breaking the entire flow. And people start refactoring and changing and putting tons of energy into those exceptions that happen 20 or 15% of the time. If you're building new products, especially, you just do not have capacity, you just do not have this luxury to focus on the remaining 20%. Focus on the mainstream, on the main process that you're building for your main players. If you can automate those, you will very quickly gain the market share. Leave out those exceptions. Don't get swamped by them and get derailed by those exceptions, okay? And of course, the last point that I can mention here is ask for the user input feedback and refine. This is a common and general process that everyone should be following, right? So,
yes, seeing some feedback here, Andre, and I know even for myself too, that I can really relate to this, just how important that user feedback is, right? It's one thing to kind of build something in a silo where you assume things that people want or need or will make their lives easier or get them information faster, but it's a whole nother thing to just ask the users what their experience has been and make improvements.
Yeah, absolutely. They will tell you. Of course, sure. Another thing here is, they will tell you many things, actually. Many things. And but also it's important to stay within this framework, because you will have tons of users and many of them are going to be getting into those 20% exceptions or even 10% exceptions. So very important to keep this to keep the focus on what your application is for. Basically, what's the goal, and go for this goal, not to get derailed. Okay.
Yeah, we just had a quick comment. Just had a quick comment from Balagi, who said we get weekly feedback even though our sprint is 2 weeks. So very frequent feedback loop. It sounds like.
This is very good. Very good. Happy for you.
Yeah.
All right. So just want to mention over here, it's definitely what I'm going to talk about. It's not a silver bullet. It's It's not for everyone. There are different products out there with different needs and different goals. So pick the items from my guide selectively. Okay, don't try to apply everything, and it's definitely not at the same time. Okay, so just rather consider it as a guideline. So number one, what you can do in order to improve. Number one, with user experience, and this is true for everyone, it's the personalization. That's the main part of the user experience. Once you are able to cater your data and your application, your product, your website, your support process, once you can cater everything to a specific user, of course, and make it personal for everyone, you are the winner. The personalization, as I mean, it's the single most important driver of the user experience. Don't forget about it. So looking back at my guide, don't forget for whom you're building, and try. And it's also one of the most overlooked aspects, because everyone is building for everyone. Okay, so don't forget about it. Try to be a little bit personal. Don't build the product in a very generic way. Think about what people are going to be doing at what time. Like, for example, if you're one of the biggest examples that I can give over here is the patient charts. You probably saw them in many different EHRs and in many different applications. What do they look like? It's, you open it up and it's tons of the information immediately looking at you. It's 30 fields or 40 or even 50 fields immediately staring at you from the first screen that you open. And there are 10 more tabs that you're clicking, and every tab looks the same. It's 50 different edit boxes, combo boxes, lists, buttons, and everything. So this is a regular patient chart that we usually observe. Yes, it has everything. So, but it's a good example how the feature is built generically and for everyone. But think about it. If you now try to put yourselves in the shoes of the doctor. Okay, so the doctor would probably want to take a look at the patient and definitely see his demographics, of course, and maybe even before that, his last visit or the history of visits, and maybe medication, prescriptions, whatever is there. And in majority of the cases, the doctor is not going to care about many of other things. History is probably on the second level, and basically something else. If you are a person, I don't know, if you're working in collections or in billing, right? So the same time, so all of these demographics, I am very much doubt that it's gonna that's gonna bother you much. You're only gonna take care about what kind of insurance this person has, this patient has, and what is the balance, and what are the visits, and the amount, and basically all the financials. If you're an admin, you're most likely gonna only care about the scheduling that is there. So think about those things, and as soon as you start looking at the processes and people who participate in those processes, you're gonna start looking at those features at different angle. So as I'm talking about that, it's definitely if you think about it, it's definitely quite expensive to build and to achieve the personality and personal touch in the applications. So apply it selectively, of course, but whoever is capable and can achieve it, usually those people, they see a absolutely great success with their products. The adoption rate is quite high on the market for those applications. As examples for personalization, I can give the areas where you need to definitely look at, where to provide the personalization is definitely the reports. Reports is another example how we have, I open up, no matter who I am, but I open up the report section in any of the application HR, for example, and there are 40 of them. Sometimes I saw 100 of them that you need to scroll. Sometimes they're categorized, sometimes they're not. But depending on who I am, I'm probably looking at several reports. Yes, people are trying to solve it with favorites, favorite reports, but even within the report, as I go in there, if I'm a doctor or I'm a patient or I'm a billing person, admin, I'm going to be looking at different sections in this report, and the data has to be represented slightly differently. So think about what kind of personalization you can put in there. Patient charts, I have already given this example on the previous slide. Then support tickets. This is actually the support, how you provide the support and the how communication is happening of your clients, of your patients with your product, with your team. It's also a very big item. You know, sometimes if you are very light on support and there is very little communications going on, okay, that's all right. But some of the products, mostly, especially in the beginning, they involve some of the communication and some of the help with how to solve this or that problem, reporting the bugs, issues, and all of this stuff, gathering the feedback. So, and I see that support is usually just an email. So people are sending emails, and like, for example, I report some issue and waiting again, and 3 days passed. I sent an email. I don't know what's happening. Maybe sometimes it's gonna or somebody is gonna send me back the response. Thank you for submitting your ticket. Thank you for submitting your issue. We're working on it. But I am, as a client, I'm in a total darkness. I don't know what's happening. So that's immediately a big and huge problem with the experience, with the support. Whereas actually the applications that give you ability to provide the support are not that much of expensive, and you can deploy those applications, and people at least can see their personal support tickets and see and provide back and forth communication to them. That's going to be immediately a bump into the how I'm feeling about my issues, and I can see some probably projected timeline. So if you can provide this information to your clients, so that by itself can give you a big bump. And then also I saw on the websites within the products upgrade options as one of the examples. Usually what's happening, you click, okay, fine, I'm on this plan. I am trying to explore what options I have. And usually I click, okay, upgrade, and then it brings me on, again on the generic page. Okay, here are the plans, go choose, or even worse, call customer support. Damn, if I'm already the client and I want to bump up my my level or change my the subscription type of subscription I'm on, you already know my information. You know how many users are there. You know what I'm using. Give me something personalized. So that actually, I saw it several times in several applications. I was myself very much pleased. So based on my number of users that are there, my usage of the data, storage, whatever, I was immediately given the quote. Feels really good, really good. So things like that, think about incorporating. Now, as we go, the next one, and I'm looking at the time, actually, I probably need to rush a little bit. So
yeah,
user interface.
We'll be about another 10, probably 12 minutes or so. Hey, Andre, just to give everybody a heads up on timelines.
Yeah, sure. User interface is the second thing. So it's one of the biggest drivers, one of the big drivers of the user experience. And what is important, why I'm bringing it up here, it is traditionally very poor for the healthcare applications. You probably are familiar with, especially with big ones. There is huge room to grow, to improve the user interface. But actually, the fact, just think about it, the fact that 80% of the information the brain receives of a person, of an average person that has no disabilities, obviously, is the visual information. So majority of this information we get through our eyes, right? And it's all visual. So whatever you're looking at, how your user interface is structured, how it's comprised, how pleasing it is, it very much depends on how people are going to be taking your product. And UI alone, actually, because of that, it may actually swing a decision during the demos or during the conversations with your clients. So think about it. Basically, user interface is one of the biggest things that you should also think about. Okay. So, another thing here.
You and I, just real quick, you and I were talking about this the other day, actually, about these big players, right? Like Epic, for example. And I think you're hammering home, and I think people are really getting this based on the feedback of just how demanding the users are now, So even if you've been an industry leader, people want to see improvements. They want to see instant feedback and results and confirmation of data or appointments booked or whatever. So just wanted to give you that feedback, because that's what people are resonating with what you're saying there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those big players, usually, if you're a market leader, you can kind of deprioritize the user interface, and you see it in the big applications. It's traditionally it happens. So, but my personal opinion here is that right now so much money is being poured into the startups. The investments are on the funding for the startups are on the rise. So people are going to, if you overlook it, somebody is going to take over. So you have to be constantly within this race. You have to be on at the level.
Absolutely.
Okay? So, and if we continue over here with the user interface, also I saw that sometimes it's even funny, but people forget about especially if you're targeting the patients, people forget about their user base as patients. But the reality is, if you are targeting patients, majority of them are going to be aged, okay? And those people, they're not just natively, they don't get well with the phone, with the computer, with technology. So whenever you're building the user interface for them, don't just think twice, think 5 times before doing this. And it's even more important if you feel that some of them are going to be with special needs. So recently we had an example where after we tested, actually people, and it was targeted to the special needs, people weren't able to distinguish between those 2 buttons. They were a different color. And just because they didn't see proper color, they just weren't able to figure out which button is which. And it was built into the user interface. So those things, do not forget about those and cater to your users. If they are aged, if they don't get well with the technology, then your interface has to cater for that. Okay. So another thing, then number 3, and this is very interesting here, I have put in as an example. Think about incorporating the chatbots, especially with artificial intelligence. So that's another big thing. It's been there. Chatbots, it's been there for some time and have already been able to stabilize, and there is a pretty decent performance for them. That's why I'm putting them in here. And chatbots are great in a way that they enable even a deeper personalization, even further. So whenever the person has this edit box, the chat box, where they are able to type in, it feels natively that I am talking to somebody over there, because people who are using technology, they inevitably use messengers, and within messengers I'm always having another person out there, or in social networks. Whenever there is this message box, my brain is wired to understand and to gather that some real human out there. So people will at least try to interact freely in the chat. Okay, so there is very low threshold for them to express their needs in the natural language. Okay, so in this respect, it's really good. So now those, as I mentioned, those chatbots are already on a quite decent level, and it's not that difficult for the to integrate them and to implement this functionality. Okay, they will keep your costs down because of some of the part of the support, for example, will be able, the bot will be able to do. So you don't have to keep your some full-time support person or support people. Okay. Another good thing is that it's available 24/7. So hey, even if my give it, even the one of the worst case scenarios, if my chatbot can only solve like 30% of the problems traditionally, at least 30% of the people who need help in the outside hours will be satisfied. It's, I don't know, to me, from the marketing perspective, it's a huge win. It's a big win. Okay. So, and
huge,
also
especially from the marketing perspective. I love getting data. I like making decisions based on data. So chatbots have come a long ways, and they just keep improving, don't they?
Yeah. So this is what you were actually looking at. My next point is about the insights. As I mentioned, people are going to be at least trying to be freely communicating with the chatbot. So if you read what they write in there, you can follow and understand what they need, what the problems that they're facing, what they're struggling with, and you can collect this data. Okay. So some of the examples that I can give about the chatbots, it's actually is the knowledge-based search. So you already probably saw it, and many companies are integrating it. And so as you type in the natural language, your question, it would go and suggest your probably some items or articles from the knowledge base, how to resolve a problem. Then again, this support getting the help with the product usage. If you stumbled with something, so some of the, maybe you can program, you can get the bot to solve some of the common issues that you have. Then reporting the issues and bugs. That's actually the big one. I don't know why not many people are integrating it in their applications, but it's a huge ability to support the issue. Is, I mean, it's invaluable. Think about it. You have the whole army of the users there to whom you deploy your application. They're testing. They're your best testers, essentially, because they're testing with the real production data, but they're not able to report you the bugs or the issues. If you make the bot available to help them report those issues, you start receiving tons of information that's going to be very much valuable. Okay, so if you then the next point, if you can incorporate it into your website, you can drive the the sales and leads, and even not only from the website but from the product itself, some of the referrals. And client success, it's a big one. You can like right now the client success mostly looks with many companies that somebody has to call and go through the some of the questionnaire with your clients, or at the best maybe somebody's going to send a link to the forum to fill in. Over here it could be done in a little bit better way. You could pretend being a human and chatting with your client directly in the application and asking them to answer some of the questions, announce some of the best, newest features, ask them, to fill in some of the survey, or rate the usage of the application, something like that. And of course, the upsales and upgrades, subscription extension, you can drive this conversation through the chatbots as well, or at least initiate it over there and get to the certain level. Okay. So next point is the integrations. I can't stress much enough how important that is, but integrations is important in a way that everything is connected right now. So probably that the topic in healthcare is about the healthcare information exchange. So it has to flow from somewhere to somewhere. Your data is never in a silo. You have to be connected with somebody. Okay. So as you go think about who is or what data is before you and who is after you. So you have to be, you're always in the middle in majority of the case, I would say, unless you are, I don't know, a big market player, a leader in the marketplace, but you're always in the middle of something where the information flows from and to. So think about what this flow is and what your place over there, and provide at least a simple data export in any of the common formats. So your users are not going to be feel like locked in, and it will improve your improve the experience of your users if they feel that their data is not somewhere unreachable. If they feel that they have access to this data anytime, all the time, they give them this very good feeling of the ownership. So improves your user experience. And then, of course, for the integration purposes, how you're going to be observed and how your clients are going to look at it, provide at least some level of HL7 or FHIR API, so that your clients, whenever you're talking about them, when you're marketing your product, they feel, again, that this data is accessible and they can get to this data, they can retrieve them, or they can put them in. You don't have to go, insane at implementing the interface that will provide the export import of absolutely everything. But at least if some core data you're able to provide, that's already going to be a very, very huge win. So, and as you go with the integrations, then immediately start using the integrations as your marketing tool. So that will help you expand even further and become improve or increase your market share. Just think about it. As of, I just got the stats for Q1 2021, there are in total 107,000 medical applications combined on App Store and on Google Play. So just imagine how big environment we're actually in, and how big. Of course, the competition is big, but what's interesting here, if you think about it, not all of them are your competitors. Yes, there are many of your competitors, but not all of them. There are huge. It's a huge network of potential partners. So out of those applications, just think about with whom you can integrate. Because as soon as you integrate, you are expanding your reach. And if you can put in your website that, for example, you integrate with 20 other tools, adds another significant boost to the experience of your users. They're like, huh, okay, that feels good. If I become a client of those guys, okay, my data is not locked. I can then build my infrastructure. I can get data from here, and then I can send them over there. So I can make sure that I have this natural flow of data, and I can use I can build an environment. And especially if you're targeting the health systems or hospitals, this is very, very much important for them. They're always looking at the data integration, how they can get the data in and then get the data out. So definitely do this, definitely think about expanding your partnership. What is also interesting, as you expand your partnership, you will inevitably gonna get into their list of partners. They're going to list you on their websites, on their app stores or connection or provider stores or something. So your name is going to be everywhere. So, but naturally, by integrating, you are doing kind of, it's not free marketing, because you definitely, you're contributing certain effort and certain budget to do the integration. But as you do the integrations, you build a feature, you are at the same time doing the marketing at no additional cost. Very important here. Okay, and the last point I'm going to mention from my 5 ways is and I put it last because it's kind of obvious, mobile applications. They are, I'm not even sure how to properly stress the importance, but you have to have them. You just saw on my previous slide, there are 107,000 mobile apps around the Google Play and App Store combined. So probably all of your competitors are already there. If for whatever reason, if you don't have the mobile applications of right now, just create it immediately. Because everyone has a phone and everyone would find the need to use your application on their phone. But here you also have to be very careful, because you definitely do not need to put all the functionality into your mobile application. Be selective over here. Go back to my general guidelines and think about who your users are and who of them are going to be using your mobile app in the field or not at the desk, and build this mobile app, just for them. So you will immediately going to be perceived as technology savvy and kind of staying up to date with technology by your clients, because yes, the mobile app is there, and you will improve the user experience of your existing clients, because they will be able to use your mobile app from the from out of the desk, from the field. But otherwise, if you don't have it, you are much more likely to be perceived as outdated in a negative way in our current world. Okay. So as those are 5 ways. Now, as Trevor promised, also another bonus idea. It's not another like separate way how to improve your application, and that's why I put it as an additional bonus, because it's not about your product. It's about going further or even creating another product. So majority of the applications of the platforms that at least I observed and we see our clients working on, they have a certain amount of the patient information have already accumulated. And the patient data nowadays, it has an insane value. So everyone is craving for the data. We live in the time in the world where the data actually has much more value than probably sometimes even physical things. Okay, so take a look at what data you have. Definitely analyze what is there from this data. Try to run some reports, produce some of the analysis stats, group the data, see what is there. And in majority of the cases, you will definitely figure out some of the insights, and you will be able to unlock some of the ideas that will be able to further boost your product, or extend your product, or maybe create a completely different product. Definitely try to employ machine learning. In many of the cases, it helps a lot. So as part of this idea, and I saw this happening with other startups, or with other companies rather, already working for quite some time. You can make out of the data, you can make a completely separate business. Totally, you can sell it. You can, of course, you have to be compliant. I'm not sure what your conditions are and in what environment you're operating. But if you theoretically, if you have a consent from your patients, you can, if you anonymize, de-identify this information, you can package it and sell it. There are tons of hospitals, tons of companies actually that are doing the studies, and they're craving for the patient data. They're ready to pay tons of money just to have some stats. So you are able to create it as a separate product, or at least as some tool to help solve, I don't know, some other issues. It's basically, it's the okay, I'll drop this thought. Anyways, but definitely do explore this option and see what you can get out of your data, because your data by itself is a product. Now the question is how you use it to the benefit of your main product, or you will create a separate product. It's definitely up to you. Okay, so I think I am done with all of those, with everything that I wanted to say. And so, oh, okay, here we go.
Yeah,
recap.
We'll do a quick little recap, but I just wanted to say too, we've got everybody that started on this webinar is still here. So Andre, you're speaking a lot of valuable information for people, I believe. In fact,
I hope truly I'm trying to deliver the value. So guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, sometimes, you can't get it in 30 minutes. So it's so great to see everybody here. In fact, everybody that is here, please chime into the chat right now. Just let us know, have you found this helpful? What was the biggest insight that you pulled away from what Andre shared so far? And then we'll just recap here as we're wrapping up. And then we'll take some questions as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so to briefly recap, Trevor, you want me to recap, right?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do a quick recap and
so
we'll let the comments come in
briefly,
from there.
Very briefly, user interface. Definitely, actually, I'm mixed up, the picture, but I'm actually going to go in the same order. Personalization is your biggest driver of the user experience. Always think how you can cater the data, the screens, the process, the support, sales to a very specific person that is currently interacting with you. You will not be able ever to achieve it fully, but you have to be trying to achieve it as much as possible. Now, then user interface, it's one of the items that is driving one of the also biggest drivers of the user experience, traditionally very poor for the healthcare industry. So here you definitely have a momentum, you definitely have a capability right now to stand out from the competitors by just providing a better user interface. And consider the user interface for the audience that you're building your application for. If those are special needs, don't forget about it. Like really think who you're building it for and cater for this age category. Okay, chatbots. Think about incorporating them. They can help you in so many different ways. They can improve the personalization and they can help you with all aspects from the sales to the and even marketing and sales and the product experience and the support and upsell, cross-sale and reference, all of that. So on all stages you can use them. Integrations, very much important. Don't forget you're not living in silo. There is always something before and there is something after. Okay, so think about where your application is, at what point, what happens before, what happens after, at what midpoint, basically on what intersection you are, and strive to provide at least a minimum level of integration abilities, some data exports, some APIs, so that the users feel good and feel the ownership of the data when they speak about your application or thinking about signing up. And definitely expand your network of the partnerships. Think about what other applications or other platforms you can integrate with. And it's by integrating with others, you are naturally creating a kind of free marketing. Then mobile app, main thing here, build it for those roles and for those users who need them, but definitely have a mobile application on the store and advertise on your website and mentioning it to your clients. Otherwise, you're going to be perceived negatively and as an outdated product if you don't have it. And the bonus one, the last one, is think about the data that you have already accumulated. You can potentially transform it into a completely separate business. Definitely analyze it and see what you can get out of it. The results could be sometimes stunning, sometimes surprising, sometimes it could be nothing. But definitely analyze your patient data and sometimes consider packaging it and interoperating with this data with others who need it more. You may even consider selling it and having it as a separate product. Okay, so that's pretty much what I have at the moment about the webinar. So hope it was helpful.
Yeah, I asked the question while you were recapping there, which of the 6 topics that you reviewed did you find the most helpful and insightful? And we got answers from everybody here. Was the integrations was probably the greatest or the best one that people found a lot of value in, but also just analyzing data and seeing other opportunities to be able to, spin off in a whole nother business or to be able to earn revenue through that as well. I know that was the one that stood out to me. I just seen another one coming in about personalization as well. So I think he touched on all of the points that just have people start to think differently, right? And that's the whole point of doing these webinars. It's really to educate, to start conversations, and then see how you can start to implement these into your own products that you're developing. So, of course, Glorium really specializes in this, right? This is what you guys do all day, every single day. And you've worked with a lot of clients in the health tech space as well. Do you want to maybe recap on that? And then if anybody has any questions before we sign off here, please feel free to drop it in the chat and we'll get to them as well. But you want to talk about some of your experience in working with clients too?
Yeah, it's actually, I don't want to, for the speech, to take to take a lot of time, but very briefly, definitely we worked with quite a big number of, as of right now, I believe more than 50 different health tech companies, and we help them build their products or extend the existing ones. And those range from small startups, starting absolutely from the very beginning, to some of the bigger companies in hospitals like Offord Hygiene, for example, or big EHR providers like Agfa Healthcare. So we have accumulated quite a lot of experience on what actually needs to be done and what has to be done on application, how the applications have to behave, what what the users are expecting to see, and what they're not, definitely. And we will be absolutely happy to help you with this, or just even to chat with you. There is a link over here right now. What we can do is to hop on a development acceleration call. We have this process where we talk with our potential clients and figuring out what you're currently working with, what you're maybe struggling with, what you already have, where you want to go, and how to get from here and to there. What would it cost? What would it take? What is possible? What is not? And what is probably the shortest path in there? So we usually start from the initial call, and absolutely no commitment or nothing. So you just show up, we talk. You want to consider working further, that's fine. If not, at least you'll get some of the insights from me or from somebody else in our company about your product and about your roadmap, about your development path, how to achieve your goals. Okay.
There we go. I was muted.
Yeah.
I was muted. There we go. Yeah, I was just gonna add on to that too. Anybody that's either already developing a product or you're considering one, maybe it's still an idea and you're in startup phase. Definitely take advantage of just hopping on one of these calls. I know Andre and I've spent a lot of time just mapping out exactly how to best serve the clients that they work with right from the very start, even when it's just a first conversation and there's just some information gathering and some exploring to do, and how you can take steps towards your ultimate goal. Because obviously you went through a lot of things here today. There's a lot of pieces to making all of this work. And if you can tap into the 11 plus years of knowledge of Glorium, and of course,
and Andre, even more.
It's even more than that. Of course, if you look at just the people, right? Like, of course, Glorium is 11 years in the making, but take advantage of it. I linked it up in the chat there. If anybody wants to go ahead and book a call. And of course, just feel free to reach out as well. Even if you just want to reach out via email or LinkedIn, of course, right? Andre's very active on LinkedIn as well. So any final thoughts?
Yeah, connect with me.
Yeah, any final thoughts? I know we're right at the top of the hour and everybody's still here. So thank you everyone for sticking around through all of this. But Andre, you want to maybe sign us off?
Yep. All right. So thank you, everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye.
See ya.